Hi, my name is Mackenzie Tapley. I am a senior at UTC and I'm really passionate about the environment. Whenever I found out about curbside recycling being temporarily suspended, I really felt compelled to do something. I went to Tim Kelly's office hours and gave him an information sheet about all sorts of solutions for getting more workers, with ideas about marketing and how to retain employees, wonderful stuff. And I was really impressed by him because he listened to me, he talked about the recycling market with me, and he told me that he wants to reboot recycling from the ground up, and he wants to get solutions, creative solutions for our city's sustainability and waste management issues. I really want to show our administration and our city that our people do care about the environment and we are passionate and we do have solutions and we do have ideas. Our current situation, where do we stand with our waste? Right now, from 2017 to 2020, this information is available on citydata.com. There has been about a 30% recycling rate versus the landfill rate. About 20,000 tons of materials are recycled every year, where around 68,000 tons of materials make their way to the landfill. We have a problem because the way our society works, we have a linear economy where we produce things, we use them, and we put them out. And what the ideal picture would be that we reduce and reuse, and it comes back to a full circle. Because let's be honest, we don't have unlimited resources and we don't have unlimited space to put things at. When we go to the grocery store and get all of our daily products that we use, we don't really realize the impact of our consumption because we just throw away our toothbrushes every 6 months. Every couple months we get a new thing of laundry detergent and we put our plastic in the trash. And then the trash goes to the landfill and the plastic sits in the landfill for millions of years. At the current rate of only 30% being recycled and 70% going to the landfill, that's millions of tons of plastic a year just sitting on the planet, unable to be repurposed and renewed. And what would be really amazing is if we could get more people educated about this issue. So many things are made of plastic, and plastic has actually been ruled toxic by the EPA in Canada and by the European Union. What can we do to make sure that 70%, 68% of our waste goes to the recycler and not into the landfill? Because right now it's currently 30% recycled, 70% in the landfill, and we need it to be like this instead. And the purpose of this video is to explain creative solutions for this. I'm going to be showing interviews with local businesses who are doing amazing things in the community, who would love to collaborate with the city to improve the amount that is diverted from the landfill in areas such as organics, meaning foods, which is compostable, and electronics, litter, and generally just helping out the city becoming a cleaner place. Why did you guys want to start an electronic recycling business?
Well, our electronics recycling business started by accident, and it grew into something that was clearly something we were supposed to do. And we've always been passionate about the environment, and it's a great way to help our community keep toxic stuff out of the landfill and recover precious metals as well.
What do you guys think that you guys can do to divert electronics from the landfill?
Well, we currently do. We've been very well received in Chattanooga since we moved here last August. We've had our business since 2014, operating in the Philadelphia area, and we decided to find a market that needed us more. There was a lot of competition in Philly, so we feel that we need to educate the community that it's important to keep these electronics out of the landfill because a lot of them can be reused or repurposed. We love what we do. In 2019 alone, back in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, where we started our company, we kept 100,000 pounds out of the landfill. And the difference between here and there is it's a law in Pennsylvania to recycle electronics. One day I'd love to see a law enacted here, even if it's on a local level in Chattanooga, where it's actually illegal to send your stuff to the landfill. I've spoken to some of the gentlemen who come to pick up the large items in my neighborhood, and they told me that I can just put a TV out on the curb and it can just go to the landfill, no problem. And I'm bothered by that because there's lead, there's mercury, there's cadmium, there's stuff that shouldn't be leaching into our groundwater. You know, we have some of the cleanest air and water here in Chattanooga compared to a lot of other cities in the country, and we'd like to keep it that way. And the biggest challenge is educating the public and letting them know that these items can be reused. In 2019 alone, the United States sent $7.4 billion worth of recoverable electronics in terms of metals and precious metals to the landfill. We literally threw money in the ground.
I talk to so many people that are apprehensive about bringing their stuff to the community center because no one really knows what happens to it, and it's just being a little bit more like open about all of that. And we could do that. We could be the solution for the electronics recycling for Chattanooga with a presence at those community centers.
Also, one thing to know about ABR is that all of our downstream is R2 certified, which means that everything stays within the United States. It's regulated by the EPA, and nothing goes overseas where it's unregulated. Also, all of our scrap metal is locally recycled, so we're supporting small businesses, and we work with computer repair people and thrift shops all over the county who recycle the electronics that are donated to them. Like Habitat for Humanity Restore, for instance, downtown. We're their solution for their broken electronics.
Why you started New Terra? What makes you passionate about composting?
So Michael, Ryan, and I started composting because we realized that all this food waste wasn't breaking down in the landfills. And it's a resource that is just going into a hole and not being captured. So we wanted to do something better, and we saw that Chattanooga was missing that infrastructure, that knowledge, and kind of that way to get it done. So we wanted to provide an easy solution for schools, hospitals, offices, and homes to make their operations more sustainable.
Why is it a problem that we're putting food waste into the landfill? Why should the average person care, and why should the government care?
So when food goes to the landfill, we all, at least I used to, think that it's going to break down. But really, a head of lettuce is going to last over 25 years in the landfill. And as it does break down, it's releasing methane into the atmosphere. And food represents like 20 to 40% of every landfill. So it's the largest single component of each landfill. And it just doesn't break down properly. So because it's encapsulated, it's anaerobic, and it's not going to add any more value to the world. So the average person can make a difference. The homes that compost with us, we see between 10 and 20 pounds each week coming from them. And that's everybody just doing their part. So think about every house in your neighborhood, 10 to 20 pounds going out the door. And when you look at it from the government's perspective, cities in Chattanooga have a responsibility to pick up trash. They don't have a responsibility to pick up recycling though. So we can do better though and reduce the amount of trash that they're responsible for by not calling it trash and calling it food residuals and capturing it for compost. So our goal with New Terra Compost is to make composting easy, and that means accessible and easy to use. So right now in the greater Chattanooga area, we have over 9 kiosk locations, and we have 9 because we realize that people aren't going to drive across town, nor should they, to drop off their compost. What we need is to have more accessible locations that are easy and already kind of like on your route. So one of our flagship location is Need Loves downtown. And the idea there is you're already going to go to Need Loves for either coffee or get some bread every week. Why not just drop off your compost as well? So if we had more locations like that made it that could be part of your routine, then it would just increase the participation rates. That's really the biggest barrier for a lot of people, is just ease and access.
Could you explain a little bit about what Green Steps is and what your role is and what your goals are?
Sure. I'm Jimmy Arcioli, and I'm the director of Green Steps. We are a litter reduction organization as well as a waste reduction organization. So Green Steps has been operating since 2017, doing community litter cleanups, waste education, and we have over 50 litter stations scattered around town where people can grab a compostable bag and pick up trash as they're recreating. You're looking right here just about a block away from the community kitchen here in downtown Chattanooga at a place where we did 2 cleanups in the year 2020. And this is what it looks like now. So we've got a waste problem here in Chattanooga, as is being highlighted by the current recycling snafu, but also a serious litter problem as well, and those two are deeply intertwined.
So what ideas do you have to increase the amount of waste that gets recycled in Chattanooga?
The most important thing is education. We need people to know what is actually recyclable versus what needs to go to the landfill. Unfortunately, so many of our plastic items are mistaken for recycling when they're actually in fact trash. So we need to get people educated on what items that they can take and how to sort it themselves to ensure least contamination possible when ending up at these recycling facilities.
What are some examples of items that commonly get mistaken for recyclables?
Plastic clamshell containers, plastic forks, basically any plastic item that is not in a bottle form with a neck. A lot of people see the little symbol with the 3 chasing arrows with a number in the middle of it, and they assume when they see that number and chasing arrows that it means recycling. As a matter of fact, it is just simply the type of plastic that is being manufactured and doesn't necessarily indicate that the item is recyclable. So kind of thinning that veil there that the plastic industry has intentionally put in to make us think that they're more green than they actually are.
What are some ways we could implement education?
We could have signs at all of our recycling centers across town that explicitly state how the recycling needs to enter the bins and what is accepted. Something else to consider is a bottle deposit program. There are places all over the world that are actually paying people to return their cans, their steel jars, and their glass to facilities where you can get money for it. And that could certainly incentivize people in areas like this, where we're covered in litter, to actually turn some of that in for money. And that's a resource that people out here living by the community kitchen really need.
What do you think there are solutions about plastic bags, knowing that on a statewide level we can't ban them in the citywide, and we're not collecting them right now at the recycling centers?
I think the biggest piece is encouraging the individuals to step up and be accountable for their own actions. Encouraging people to bring their own bag to the grocery store and providing more education, perhaps at our recycling centers, on how to be more sustainable and eco-friendly.
How can you educate curbside recyclers?
Separating your recycling is going to be the most efficient way to ensure that those items end up recycled. When you mix everything together, it's a complicated sorting process that leads to a lot of contamination. And a lot of mixed-matched items end up in the recycling. So implementing some sort of curbside system that forces people to sort it out themselves. So that way there's better education and better implementation of the recycling. And then if you so choose to go back to a single stream source, there needs to be an auditing system put in place to ensure that people are putting the right items in there.
To educate people on how to recycle, because most people that come in here don't have a clue how to recycle. And that's the biggest issue I see, that the mayor needs to be aware of that too. That
Yeah, people need education.
Oh yeah, they need to be, right. Yeah, they need to be educated on how to recycle, period.
So do you think more people have been coming since they canceled curbside?
Oh yeah, definitely. We extended our hours on Sunday to 9 till 5 rather than 1 through till 5, just through September because of that. There were so many complaints about them not doing curbside. But they're starting it back. The problem has been they haven't been able to hire any drivers. A lot of people quit, but they're saying by October they should have drivers back.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to our regular Sunday hours.
Do you think that something else, like something needs to change for the curbside to work successfully? You know, like why did the workers not want to work?
Yeah, I think it should be picked up every week. I think the mayor needs to change it from every other week to every week.
Okay.
Yes.
That would help.
What other ideas do you have to get more people to recycle more often?
I'd limit the number of days people can go to the landfill. That's one solution, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cut that back.
Yeah. And currently for curbside, you have to call and ask for a can. Not
Right.
everyone gets one. Do you
That's
feel like
right.
everyone should just automatically get their own recycling
And
can?
I don't think they should have to pay for it either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's something Mayor Kelly could work on. He's been to Warner Park, and I met him down there, and he's really concerned about this, I believe. I mean, I could tell from his attitude.
Yeah, I
He even
mean,
recycled himself when he was down there that day. Like I say, educate the public, because I found all kinds of, like I found burn barrel in steel cans, a car seat one time in plastic one,
yeah.
and things that obviously don't belong there.
Do you think it would be helpful if you guys had a place for people to drop off their plastic grocery bags? Because that's not something the city currently accepts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I have people ask all the time, and the ones that don't ask usually throw them in the bottles. And number one, plastic, or plastic too, in the bins.
It was awesome to talk to you. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, other than I just hope people continue to recycle, because that obviously I wouldn't have a job if they didn't. If they ever quit and just start going to the landfill, then I would lose my position.